All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to day 2 of Mr. Somerville's fantastic pre-recorded lecture experience. I hope everybody's doing well. I apologize if I sound a little echoey. My headset is not working for some reason, so I'm just using the computer microphone. Hopefully it sounds okay. We are going to jump right into things here. Let's get started with today's bell ringer. All right, buckle up, buckaroos. Here we go. So, here's our 3 pictures. We got a nice looking skyline here. We got, maybe some of you know what this is. It's an American football helmet with a big blue star on it. I know DJ Hoover at least knows what this is, and maybe a lot of the rest of you do too. So we got the Cowboys helmet here. We got an actual cowboy here, or at least someone who's paid to be a cowboy at a rodeo. Some psychopath who makes a living, strapping on top of a 1,800-pound bull and staying on top of it for as long as he can. So, what city are we talking about today? Well, it is, of course, the city of Dallas. But I'm actually going to put Dallas Fort Worth, and you're going to see why here in a second. Dallas Fort Worth is, of course, in the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State. And metropolitan population of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you should have found something along the lines of 7.5 million people. So, recall, direction traveled from Tuesday's city. Tuesday's city was, of course, Los Angeles. Now we're in Dallas, Dallas-Fort Worth. So what direction did we take to get there? Well, let's take a look at our map. There's Los Angeles. So we hop in our plane, fly on over the Salton Sea, over Arizona, over New Mexico, and there's Dallas here. So we're going east, maybe slightly south. So we could say east-southeast, but it was much closer to east than anything else, so I'm just going to put east for that. Famous local person, you got a lot of choices there. A lot of country music singers probably come out of Dallas, but I'm going to put one of my favorite actors, Mr. Owen Wilson. Him and his brother Luke are natives of Dallas. There he is. Wow, there he is. Now, you do not have to put a picture of your celebrity, unless you want to. Always encouraged. Just for fun. A little picture of Owen Wilson there. If anyone saw the Marvel series Loki, he was fantastic in that. Now, I mentioned Dallas-Fort Worth. So let's zoom in on Dallas and see what the heck Mr. Somerville's talking about. I thought this was just one city. Well, very similar to yesterday's city, Los Angeles, Dallas has sort of grown over the years into much more than just simply a city. It is now a huge metropolitan area. My computer's being a little lazy here, but hopefully it comes around. Let's give it a sec. Maybe I'll refresh the page here. Maybe that'll help. Sometimes Google just needs a little kick in the pants. All right, so that's it. So there you go. It's still stuck in Los Angeles. Still in that Los Angeles state of mind. We don't want to be in Los Angeles anymore. We are done with Los Angeles. We are heading east to Dallas. There it goes. All right. So as the resolution comes in, Baron, I can't believe that I'm like even slightly annoyed when technology refuses to work right away. Whenever that happens, I have to remind myself that these photos that I'm looking at for free on Google and showing to all of my students were taken by satellites in space, launched there with rockets by some of the smartest men and women in the world, and provided to all of us, again, free of charge. So I really have nothing to complain about. Anyway, here we go. This is the city of Dallas, and this is Fort Worth. And in between there is Arlington. Now, the discerning among you may realize that this kind of all just looks like one big city, and that's because it really is. Originally, 100 plus years ago, Dallas was a city, Fort Worth was a city, Arlington was a city, Irving was a city. These were all their own little separate towns and small cities. And over the years, as more people moved in, more people settled there. A lot of people moved to Dallas as part of the oil industry. Oil is a huge industry in Texas, still to this day. The cities just kind of continued to grow and grow and grow until they kind of grew together and merged together. And that's now what we have. We have the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and, well, sure enough, here's proof. All right, so just quick review. City, Dallas-Fort Worth, in the state of Texas. Metro population of about 7.5 million people. We went east to get there, and my famous local person is Mr. Owen Wilson. Wow, there he is. But of course, you can pick any other celebrity that you want. Someone who was born in Dallas, someone who has spent a lot of time in Dallas, someone who works in Dallas, someone who's just associated with the city of Dallas in any way. Maybe you'll put an athlete from there. Really, totally up to you, as long as you have something. All right, let's move on to the meat of what we're doing today. So hopefully you have your journals. If you don't, go ahead and pause this video, head on over, grab your journal. We just have a few more notes to take today. You can just add these right to the page of notes you took yesterday. You can start a new page. It's just kind of a continuation over some of the stuff we talked about today. This will be the last set of new notes before the quiz on Friday. So last set of new information is what you're getting today. Tomorrow, Thursday, will just be all review over everything we've learned in class so far. So the 5 fundamental themes of geography and all the map stuff that we're covering yesterday and today. Friday is our first quiz. So on Friday, that's when we turn everything in. We're going to turn in the week 3 bell ringers, which we have 2 left to do after today, and then the quiz. Those are going to be your only new grades for this week. Speaking of grades, I am like 80% done grading the city's posters projects. Overall, everyone's been doing very well so far. So you should see grades pop up for those on Power School today. So I'm actually recording this on Tuesday evening, but you're watching it on Wednesday, so you should see grades pop up for that on Power School today. All right, let's get going here. Actually, let's do this. Let's just click on the PDF. So this is on Canvas, as always, the very bottom of the Fundamentals of Geography module, if you're following along. Now, obviously, you're probably watching a video on YouTube as well, but you can do multiple windows. It might be useful. Or maybe you're watching it up on the big screen if you don't have headphones. Totally fine, too. Well, let's go ahead and click on the PDF here. I'm feeling better, guys. I'm also in kind of a silly mood today, so hopefully everyone is having a good week so far. I certainly wish I was able to be there with you. There we go. That's what I want to do. Full screen. All right. So this is what we're talking about today. Maps, distortions, and projections. What on earth do those words mean? Well, good news. Those are our new vocab words for the day. That's what you're going to take notes over. So that's what we're going to find out. That's what we're going to learn. But first, review. Let's talk about what we learned yesterday. Because if we don't review, and if we don't learn how to use maps, then we're going to wind up like this guy. So this is Charlie Kelly. So let's see Charlie Kelly struggle to use a map, and then let's maybe talk about how some of the knowledge that we've learned could have helped him out.
I'm sorry I got so lost. I can't ever tell which way is north on a map. It's at the top. I thought north was like up.
Up?
Yeah, like if I turn the map this way, now where's north?
Still at the top of them. No, come on,
That's
Charlie. This
confusing,
is
right?
ridiculous. We gotta get going here.
I know.
All right, let's watch it one more time. See
I'm
if you can
sorry I
catch
got
this.
so lost. I can't ever tell which way is north on a map.
It's at the top.
I thought north was like up.
Up?
Yeah, like if I turn the map this way, now where's north?
Still at the top of them. No, come on,
That's
Charlie. This
confusing,
is
right?
ridiculous. We gotta get going here.
I know.
All right, so Charlie did not know which way was north on the map. What aspect of our map could have really helped him out there? Well, if he had looked at the compass rose, if the map had one, which it should have, if it was a good map, he would have been able to tell that north was in fact in whatever direction north was indicated by the compass rose. North is not in fact up. North is a established direction on a map, usually the top of the map, but not always. So a compass rose would have really helped him out there. Now, let's take a look at another character here who maybe struggles a little bit with directions.
9,997, 9,998, 9,999, 10,000. Where's the X? Supposed to be right here. 10,000 paces east.
Oh, east? I thought you said west.
West? What kind of compass are you reading, lad?
This one, sir.
That's west, Patrick. You're fired again.
Oh no, Patrick, he said east, not west. Now, I'm not sure really any amount of map studying or social studies learning could have really helped Patrick out in that situation. Probably just needs to pay closer attention to what Mr. Krabs is telling him. So, it is not never eat soggy waffles is not north, south, east, west. It is, of course, north, south, east, west. So, let's just review our 5 parts of the map. Now, this is a fictional map. There is no geography island, or if there is, it doesn't look like this. Or maybe it does. I don't know. But this is just an imaginary map, and so let's look at the 5 parts here. So, up here at the top, geography island. Well, that is, of course, our title. Every good map has a title. Here we have our key. Now, this is a physical map. So it has all these different physical features. It's got rivers, forests, beaches, all this stuff indicated by the key. It tells you what all these different colors and symbols mean. That's what a key does. It also has a scale. A scale, it's a little blurry, but the purpose of a scale is to show you, excuse me, the purpose of a scale I apologize. So, I'm about 80% better, but that last 20% is that nagging cough that just isn't quite going away. Anyway, where was I? The purpose of a scale is to kind of show you the distances and how large the area we're talking about is. And of course, here we have our compass rose. Now, this map does not have our 5th feature, which is our locator map, because Geography Island is not a real place. Not all maps have locator maps. They are typically used for the maps you'll see in your textbook. Any kind of map that I give you on a quiz, I will try to include a locator map just to kind of give you an indication of what part of the world we're talking about. But those are our 5 parts of a map. Okay, moving on. Hey, here's the new stuff. So, here are our words. These are new vocabulary words. Just this slide, really just this slide, is what I want to make sure that you guys get in your notes today. And remember, there is no correct way to take notes. As long as you get the key information on this slide, I will be happy. So, make sure you get distortion. What is distortion? It is a change in the shapes or distances on a map. That'll make a lot more sense here when I show you distortions in action. Please feel free to pause this video and write these down. I'm just going to keep going. So that's distortion. Projection. A projection is all or part of the three-dimensional Earth shown on a two-dimensional map. We live on a three-dimensional planet. It is a sphere. It is impossible to 100% accurately render a three-dimensional object like the Earth on a two-dimensional surface like a map. So all projections, which all maps are some type of projection, are always distorted in some way. Every two-dimensional map you've ever seen or ever looked at is in some way, the shapes or distances on the map are changed in some way. They are distorted in some way. Now, there is one type of, I guess you could call it a map, that we use and that there are in the classroom. I think there's 3 of them in my classroom currently, counting the beach ball, that are not distorted, or at least are distorted much less than a two-dimensional map would be. Those are, of course, globes. Globes themselves are three-dimensional objects, and so they are much more accurate representations of our three-dimensional Earth. The problem with globes is that it's hard to carry them around. You can't take a globe with you everywhere you go. You know, you can take a map with you everywhere you go, especially if it's a map, like a digital map on your phone, like you use the GPS. So globes are very useful if you want to be as accurate as possible, but they are not as practical as two-dimensional maps. And so that's why we have all these different projections, which we'll look at, all of which are distorted in some way. This last vocabulary term isn't new, but I do want to hit it again just to make sure that you guys are super clear, and that is, of course, hemisphere. Hemisphere are the equal halves of the Earth's surface. So Earth is divided into, there's 4 hemispheres, but really there's 2 hemispheres per, well, I'll just explain it this way. So there's a eastern hemisphere and a western hemisphere divided by the prime meridian, which we talked about, I think, at the beginning of last week. That's that line of longitude. Remember, the vertical lines are the longitude that goes through Britain down through the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, or near the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Those are the eastern and the western hemispheres. And then we have the northern and the southern hemispheres. Those are divided by the equator. Pretty much anywhere you are on the planet, you are always in 2 hemispheres at a time. So right now, we are all in the northern and the western hemispheres. We're on the northern half of the planet, and we're on the western half of the planet. So let's actually go ahead and skip to this slide here, which is the last slide in our presentation, which shows exactly what I'm talking about. So you see the northern hemisphere, that's everything above the equator. Southern hemisphere is everything below the equator. Most of the land on Earth is in the northern hemisphere. We have the eastern hemisphere, which is everything on this side of the prime meridian. We have the western hemisphere, which is everything on this side of the prime meridian. So as you can see, all of North America, all of South America are in the western hemisphere. North America, including the United States, is in the northern and western hemisphere. Okay. What I want to look at next, so we talked about projection. All projections, which all maps are some type of projection, are distorted in some way. It is impossible to accurately, with 100% accuracy, show a three-dimensional surface like the Earth on a two-dimensional map without changing the shapes and distances in some way. This is one that maybe you've seen before. It is also probably the most distorted of any map projection that we'll typically see. It's called the Mercator projection. You don't need to know that, but it's named after the person who came up with it. And you might notice that Greenland is absolutely massive. It looks like its own continent. It's like the size of Africa. Antarctica down here looks like a monster that's ready to swallow all the rest of the continents. So this map is very distorted in that way. Now, it is also useful. Sailors for centuries used this map because the directions from one point on land to another point on land were accurate. That's why this map was created. It was created for maritime sailing, for merchants that would sail, say, from the United States to Europe, or from Africa to India, or from China to wherever. They used this map because they could plot a distance And even if the shapes of the continents and the exact distances weren't 100% accurate, the direction, I should say, the direction was accurate enough that this map was very useful. Not used as often anymore today, simply because the distortions are kind of out of control. This map is used more often today. This is the one, you'll see some version of this in most textbooks. It's called the Robinson projection. Again, you don't need to know that, but it's just named after the guy who came up with it. So this one you see, it looks quite a bit different. It's closer to circular, not quite, but it's a closer representation of how the continents actually are shaped and how big they are. Greenland is no longer just this massive monstrosity, but Antarctica isn't either, but it's still massively huge. And where this particular projection kind of breaks down and where the distortions get really bad is at the bottom of the map and the top of the map, stuff kind of gets squished, and at the edges here, stuff kind of gets stretched out a little bit. So this one's better. The Robinson projection is better. The distortions are not as bad, but it's still not perfect. And you don't, I'm really showing you guys these just to kind of illustrate the concept of projections and distortions. This is the one that I will be using 95% of the time when I use world maps in my class. But you don't need to know the names of these or anything like that. This last one, oh my gosh, this is a weird looking one. This is called the Goods projection, and I like to think of this one. So how did Mr. Good come up with this one? Well, picture an orange, and that orange is the Earth. And you peel the skin off the orange, and then you kind of lay that skin flat on a desk. And maybe, depending on how you peeled it, if you kept it all in one piece, it might look something like this. So believe it or not, even though it looks really weird and funky, this is actually the most accurate and least distorted in terms of the shapes and size of the major continents of any of the projections we've seen so far. The reason this one isn't used so much is just because it's so strange looking, and also because it cuts all the oceans in half, and so it's not useful if you're sailing around, for example. What this one is really useful for is just to kind of give you an accurate idea of how big certain continents are and exactly what shape certain continents are. So you can really kind of tell, like, look at this part of Africa right here, and then compare it to this one. See how it's a little bit more like rounded here, and in this one it kind of bulges out a little more. This is actually much more accurate to how Africa looks in real life. It does kind of bulge out a little bit like that. This one, it kind of, tapers off a little bit. All right, so we already looked at the hemispheres. What I want to do now is illustrate this concept of distortions for you guys. Now, you guys have seen me use this website before. It's probably my favorite geography website. It is called thetruesize.com. I will put a link in the announcement today, so you guys are going to go to this website yourself after this lecture is over, mess around with it a little bit. But it does a really good job of illustrating kind of like, this is a Mercator projection. This is that first projection we saw. So you can type in the name of a country here. Okay, so there's Greenland. Now, Greenland, sitting at the top of the map like this, is stretched out and projected and distorted, I should say. So we kind of drag it over here. Oh, don't you love these ads? I actually kind of do, because otherwise we'd have to pay for this kind of stuff. Ads make it free. So let's grab Greenland here. You can do this yourself on your iPads. And we drag it down towards the equator. Oh no, I'm shrinking. And we actually see how big Greenland really is. Not nearly as large as it appears to be on this particular projection. This projection distorts Greenland to a remarkable degree. Let's look at Australia. Okay, so Australia is big, But how big? Well, let's compare it to the United States. Drag Australia up here and we can see, whoa, Australia is even bigger than I maybe realized. You know, it's very nearly the size of the United States. It's massive. You don't always realize that if you're just looking at it on a map, due in part to distortions. All right, a couple more here. Let's go ahead and clear the map. Get Australia out of there. We talked about Dallas today. So let's look at Texas. Now, Texas is the largest state, not counting Alaska. So let's see how Texas compares to Europe. All right. So Texas is about the size of France, a little bit bigger than Germany. You can see as we drag it near the equator, it appears to get smaller, and as we drag it further north, it distorts and appears to grow much larger because of the distortion effect that's happening. All right. Computer is sort of refusing to cooperate. Last one I want to do. The great monster that is Antarctica. Oh my gosh, look at it. It's like some Lovecraftian eldritch nightmare that's just about to swallow up the entire planet, just emerging from the nether void. But not really. It's just distorted. So if we drag it up, there we go. And see, not so big after all. Still big. Don't get me wrong, it's still a continent. But it's, it's roughly in line with like it's significantly smaller than Africa, for example. So it's definitely not just this huge, massive land that you see on certain map projections. It is highly distorted. All right. Enough of that. What else did I want to talk about? How am I doing on time here? Let's see. About just shy of 30 minutes. Okay. Just a couple more things. I do want to show you a few kind of fun thematic maps. So make sure that you get all the notes, basically just the definitions, the new vocab, all this stuff. That's really all you need from the notes today. Make sure you get that down. And I wanted to look at some fun thematic maps. Remember from yesterday, we had political maps, physical maps, and thematic maps. Thematic maps are used to illustrate certain ideas or concepts about a region. So this is a collection of thematic maps all about the United States and how people have different words or pronounce things differently in different parts of the United States. So this one I thought was kind of interesting. We have our key down here. We have our title up here telling us what people call sweetened carbonated beverages in different parts of the country. So up here where we live, most people will call it pop. Parts of the Northeast, they'll say soda. But look here down south, the green, they just call it Coke. Whether it's Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or Sprite. If you go to Atlanta, Georgia, and you say, can I have a Coke, please? They'll ask you, what kind? And you'll be like, Diet Coke, I guess? And they're like, no. I mean, do you want a Sprite Coke, Dr. Pepper Coke? What kind of Coke do you want? And you'll be like, what are you talking about? Well, that's just what they call it down there. Here's another good one. Quick, do you call it a water fountain or a drinking fountain? I've always called it a drinking fountain. But apparently, a lot of people up here, as we see with our key here in the red, they call them water fountains. And then these weirdos up here in Wisconsin, they call them bubblers. Interesting. Quick, without thinking about it, that delicious white spread that you put on a ham and cheese sandwich, do you say mayonnaise, like I do, or do you say mayonnaise? Mayonnaise. Is it 2 syllables or 3 syllables? If it's 2 syllables, that's kind of the more southern pronunciation. If it's 3 syllables, that's maybe the more northern pronunciation. There's one or two more I wanted to look at real quick. Oh, here's an interesting one. Those little gray little gray bugs that you see crawling around in the corners of your kitchen sometimes, maybe. I call them roly-polies, but some people call them pill bugs. People in Utah, upstate New York, up in the Pacific Northwest, they call them potato bugs, apparently. Nope, this is the last one. This is the best one, I think. So, do you say tennis shoes? Well, then that's most of the country. Do you say sneakers? That's apparently a Northeast and Southern Florida thing. The thing is, I've heard people say sneakers. I've heard people say tennis shoes. I've heard. So these maps aren't 100% accurate. They're more just kind of broad indicators, and they're more fun. So anyway, those are just some fun thematic maps I wanted to share with you guys. Let's see. Oh, so I've been staring at maps of the United States all day today in preparation for this project, and I just had to share something weird with you guys because, like I said, I'm in kind of a weird mood as I'm recovering from COVID here. So I was staring at the United States, and I thought to myself, you know what? The United States kind of looks like a happy whale. And that's not important. It's not something that you probably ever thought you would learn, but now you know it, and you can never unknow it. And for the rest of your life, you will think, you know what? I don't remember anything else from Mr. Somerville's class in 7th grade social studies except for the fact that the United States is sort of shaped like a whale. So there you go. There's some knowledge that you'll carry with you. You'll tell your grandkids that the United States is kind of shaped like a whale. All right. Last thing I want you guys to do, and then I'll let you go. On your own, head back to thetruesize.com. I'll put the link in the announcement today. And for the rest of class, however much time is left, I want you to go on here and try to find some states or countries that are roughly the same size as one another. So if you click on it or if you mouse over it, you guys are on your iPad, so you should be able to see this. In parentheses there, it'll tell you the square miles. So for example, Indiana is 36,417 square miles. For comparison's sake, Illinois is 57,914 square miles. Let's look at, Germany. So Germany is significantly larger. It's over 100,000 square miles. And we can pull it over and compare. So it's larger than, Indiana and Illinois put together, or at least, close enough to it. Yeah, definitely larger than the two of them put together. So take some time, mess around, play around with this map. If you come across a really cool or a really interesting comparison that kind of makes you think like, I had no idea that country was that large, or hey, I thought this state was way bigger than it is, but it's actually not that big, go ahead and post it in the comments of this YouTube video. Or if you just want to say hi, you can post that in the YouTube video as well. No grade for anything like that, but excuse me. Oh my gosh. Last cough you'll have to deal with, I'm sure. Just kind of a fun way to challenge yourself. If you did not get a chance yet to look at the textbooks, those are in the back corner of the room, kind of underneath the two world maps, or the world map and then the old US map that I have. Grab one of those. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm going to sign off because you guys are tired of hearing me cough and talk. So throw a comment in the YouTube video if you feel like it. Not for a grade, just kind of for fun. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Again, tomorrow we are reviewing, and then Friday I will be back, hopefully, and we are going to take our first quiz. So that is it. I am signing off. I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, or if it's the end of the day, then I hope you have a great day preceding this, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.